Hello and welcome everyone. Today's topic that we're going to talk about is mirroring. Yaila, what have you got on mirroring?
Thank you, Corey. I love that we are actually doing a discussion on the video of mirroring because I feel like we've brought up the concept and just kind of talked about it casually in previous videos. So let's dive in a little bit more about what mirroring actually means. And there's different terms out there. So for some people, they use mirroring as a way to connect with other people. You kind of respond back to their movements. That's not what we're talking about in this video. We're actually talking about the outside world around you is actually reflecting what's going on internally for yourself. And so when people think of mirroring, I feel like they might think of it only as a one thing is being mirrored back to you, but we are, a total person. There's like these situations outside of us with all these different variables going in. And so when I think about mirroring and how the universe is showing me what's going on internally, it shows up in a couple different ways. So it can either reflect back to you how you're matching the energy of what's around you. We actually have a video on matching energy. So you can actually connect and match and take on the energy of what you are walking into. So let's say you walk into a group or at work and everybody's kind of in a bummed out, frustrated mood. You can find yourself literally mirroring that energy back. You're starting to match that energy, and now you're kind of taking it on. It's in your space. Another way the universe shows you what's going on in your space is it will reflect back to you a belief you have about yourself. And this is a really big one that we touch on in theta healing. And it's probably one of the main things that I work on with my clients and my students, where our beliefs actually create our reality. And so if you are having a situation that keeps showing up, so I'll use myself for an example. One of the reasons why I got into energy work was because I was noticing a certain pattern in relationships that kept showing up over and over and over again. And basically, the universe was showing me beliefs I had about myself and my self-worth based off of the relationships I was allowing into my space. So the universe can show you where you believe what you're worth, or the belief about your capabilities, or your just who you are as a being. The universe will reflect that back to you based off of what is showing up around you. So if you have a belief that nothing ever works out for you, the rug's always pulled out from underneath you, everything gets canceled at the last minute, what do you think is going to happen? Those things are going to keep showing up over and over and over again, whether it's going to be things fall at the very last minute, or things, crumble all around you because you're kind of expecting it in a way. Your belief is expecting that energy to happen. So, we've all kind of heard about law of attraction at this point, and that's kind of a level of mirroring for you. The universe is mirroring back to you that belief that you have. And then another way I think of mirroring too is you are there's an old trauma or wound that you have from most likely when you were younger. And similar situations are reflecting back to you an unhealed wound or trauma that you still have energetically in your space. So abandonment is a big one for a lot of people. If you had a caregiver or parent who wasn't around a lot, you could have a belief that you're abandoned, you're left alone, and then what shows up? Relationships where people tend to leave. So many times mirroring, or the universe, will show us what we have going on internally, or how we are responding internally based off of what's going on around us. So thinking about, so what do you do from that, right? So that's where my mind went when I noticed I had these patterns. Like, well, how do I start to shift this? And for me, and I know the ladies here, energy work was that go-to way to change it. And so if you are interested in learning more about how do you energetically clear space, heal those past traumas, clear out those limiting beliefs, unmatch the energy around you, feel free to reach out to Peyton, myself, or Corey. So I will start there with mirroring, but how about you, Peyton?
Thanks, Yaila. Yeah, I second a lot of what you just said. I think this is a huge topic because when I think of the word or the term mirroring, this is kind of the basis of everything we do in energy work. It really is the key concept. And this is known by several different names in the spiritual community. So like Yaila mentioned, some people may be familiar with this in terms of the law of attraction. And some people may think of this as, I've heard it called the law of reflection. And even some people consider this to be the law of karma. So you may know it by various different names, but this concept of mirroring is really the heart of everything that we do in our spiritual work and certainly in energy work. And the way the Pleiadians like to explain it, they say there's only a handful of universal laws. Everything else is perception. But according to them, this is one of the universal laws, that what you put out, you get back. So that's kind of where my mind goes when I hear the term mirroring. And so the basic idea, the way I look at it, is that as humans, we are balls of energy, right? We all know that we are energy beings. And so we are constantly sending out a signal to the universe 24/7. And what happens is the universe matches that and reflects back to us experiences that match the signal we're sending out. And so mirroring is the universe reflecting back to us the frequency or the vibration, those are the words we use in the energy world, that match the signal we're sending out. So the signal you send out is what your reality will be reflected to you as. So if this is kind of a new concept to you, another way that I sometimes think of it, or the way I thought of it when I was first starting energy work, is it's almost like you're a radio station. So say you set your radio station in the morning to country music, and it's fine for a while, but after a few hours, you're getting a little sick of country music. So you start to take physical action because you really want to hear anything else. And so you start to journal about how it would be great to hear pop music. And you start to sing over the top of the country music songs. We're trained to take physical action when we want to change something in our life. But as long as your radio is set to the frequency of country music, it is going to continue playing in your house, right? Well, your frequency is the same way. As long as you are sending out a particular signal, you are going to get back what matches that signal. And our physical action doesn't change the results that we're getting. So when we try to change something in our life, whether it's, releasing something that we don't like a bad job or a bad relationship, or try to create something, we can't really do it very easily with physical action. We have to change the signal. We have to change the frequency and the vibration. So as light workers, our signal, our frequency, our vibration is everything. That's what creates our entire life experience, because our life is just a reflection of what we are sending out. So that's kind of the way that I kind of look at the idea of kind of how our life experience is reflected to us and how we go about changing it. It all comes down to that signal. So how do you know then what your signal is? What gives you that feedback? How do you know what you're sending out? The easiest way is just to look at your life. And those areas that are going really well show you that you have a pretty high vibration in that area because it's going well, you're getting great results. But those areas that aren't working so great, that's where you know you have a lower frequency. You have a lower vibration in that area. And most of us have a couple areas where we know we are not quite as high on that scale as we would like to be. Those tend to show up as our chronic problems in our life. That just tells you that you have a lower frequency in that area. And so that's where you want to direct your attention when you're trying to shift something in your life. So how do you know then what determines your signal when you want to change your signal? What is it that sets your frequency? And basically, I think of it as being three things: your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions. And if you look at those three things, those are kind of the basic components of the signal you are sending out. So when we want to change something, looking at our thoughts, our emotions, and our beliefs are the easiest way then to start to make the changes that you want to see reflected in your life. And then the final question for me is always, well, how do I then actually change the signal? Say you've identified the limiting beliefs, how then do you change it? And really, that is everything that the three of us have been talking about in all of these videos. That is what energy work is about. It is all about helping you raise your vibration. And there's countless ways to do this. You can do this through any of the amazing healing modalities out there. And we have talked about a lot of those different modalities. We have talked about the power of energy protection tools. That's another great way to protect your frequency, especially if you are an empath like the three of us, so that you aren't soaking up the negative energy of other people. And then finally, doing things like shadow work, targeting those limiting beliefs. And we just did a video on that. So check that out if you need help with your limiting beliefs. All of these are ways that you can start to adjust that signal, take control over your frequency, because that is really everything we are doing as light workers and starseeds comes down to learning to master your frequency, master your vibration. Because until you change that, you're listening to country music. So that is kind of how I look at mirroring. It's the heart and soul of everything we do and everything that we talk about, is being able to control that signal, that frequency, because it creates everything. So that's how I look at it. How about you, Corey?
You know what, Peyton, I love it. I love it, the country music, you know how it's like you've just broken up with somebody and that country, you turn on that country music song because it's all about heartache and how they let, blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh, and it's like, oh, I've had clients and friends, that, they've just broken up with somebody and then they keep listening to the one song that was their song and it just breaks their heart. That's mirroring. That's mirroring because you relate to that song, right? Because your heart is broken and the song is about, your heart being broken. And that is mirroring what you resonate with. I have a friend that always says, if you spot it, you got it. And that is also a form of mirroring. I heard long ago that everybody we encounter is a mirror of ourselves. So if you're speaking to somebody or, watching anything or listening to music and it triggers you, like maybe it makes you pissed off, or maybe it brings you to tears, or you have heightened emotions about it, it is a sign of mirroring, that there is something within you that doesn't like that part of yourself that this person or thing is triggering you about. That's how I started looking at mirroring. When something would happen and, it would upset me. And I was so blessed to have a spiritual advisor that started asking me the questions. So what is it about that person? Is there something inside of you that does that you don't like about yourself that they're doing? That was always pretty much what the situation was. That was how I began to even acknowledge or know what mirroring was. At the time, I didn't even know that it was mirroring. However, it was put that everyone is a mirror being held up to you to see the things about yourself that need working on, or that make you uncomfortable, or that you don't like. And I think that is, the universe's way of mirroring. Another, way of mirroring is, I loved how you said it, Yaila, that, if you come from a place of being abandoned or people are out to get you, like Peyton said, that's the frequency we give out. Or, everything goes wrong in my world. Oh, I always get the short end of the stick. That's the frequency you put out. So what else can come in? The same frequency, because mirroring is matching and it all comes back to us. And when I finally realized that that was the universal law of what you put out comes back, or what you see in another, it's still that energy going out, coming in, going out, coming in, right? That's how energy works. Flows out, comes in, goes out, comes in. Is that, you know, when I was seeing it in somebody else, it pointed to me. You know, if I was putting it out, it would come back to me. That I was able to start doing the shadow work and taking a look at what is it that I needed to change? And then start realizing that it was the energy, it was the frequency. And yes, that, you know, Peyton, that is, and yeah, it is what energy work is all about, changing our frequency. And so, yes, there are so many modalities that you can use to change your frequency. But at times, you know, you can do writing. You know, there's writing for journaling, and then there's automatic writing where spirit can give you a message about what to do about that that's bothering you, that shadow side of you that needs to change. I personally did a list of I wrote down all the list of things that I was brought up to believe. And then I wrote down whether it was true for me or not true for me, and what my new beliefs were. That alone was a shift in energy. And then I did energy work around that to heal it. Where was the energy in my body? Where was it stored? You know, every time that something is mirrored back at us, it lights up this energy in our bodies, whether it's good energy or not so good energy. And that's why energy work, and why all of us ladies do energy work, so that we can locate that energy in the body and shift it. So yes, I love that, Peyton. Your thoughts. Wait, what was it? Your thoughts, see, my mind went blank. Anyways, what is it? Oh, yeah. Thoughts,
emotion.
And
emotion, your feelings.
Yeah. And also too, I'll add to that, you know, the feeling that you get in your body. The feelings, not just in your mind, but in your body. Because we always say, your body never lies to you. Our bodies never lie to us. They will always tell us what is going on, because that energy always lights back up if it is triggered. So that's what I get from mirroring, you know, if that law of attraction, you put it out, it comes in. It's like a boomerang. Right? Something really pretty, really nice and loving and kind on that boomerang. So when you fling it out there and it comes back, it gives you more of that. Anything else, ladies?
I got two things that are popping up right now that also think about. One, I love, Corey, how you were saying with, you know, kind of how other people are showing up. That lets you know, similar things you have in your space. And I love a quote that says, you can't point your finger without two pointing back at yourself. So however you put your thumb, it doesn't matter, but wherever you're pointing your finger on what anybody else is doing, there's always three pointing back at yourself. So it's a good way to check yourself. And then another thing too, is it wouldn't be in your realm of reality if it wasn't meant for you. So you can look at that in a positive and then a negative way, right? So if there's things going on that you don't want, if it's not meant for you, right, that means you don't want it in your personal space anymore, and you can shift it, you can change it. Energy always changes. However, if there's things that you're waiting to have come in, but you're noticing it around you, that means it's also there for you too. And you can keep adding energy, adding your attention to those things that you want to call in. So even if it's not quite there yet, You can still shift it, whether you focus on more of or less of, to help you go in the direction that you actually want to go. So those are 2 things I wanted to add.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I would add is this is how you can use your triggers in a really powerful, positive way, because anything that is triggering you is just reflecting to you energy you have active. And so if you look at it as a good thing, you can actually change it so that it's not something that just drives you nuts every time it comes up. Instead, you can be like, oh, this is reflecting to me that maybe I have some unworthiness going on, or maybe I have some competitiveness going on. And once you realize that, you can shift the energy, and then you don't get that reflection anymore. As soon as you change the frequency, the universe has to give you a different reflection. So it's a great way to go through and see what in your life is not reflecting what you want. Do your energy work there, and you have to get a different reflection, because as the Pleiadians always say, it's universal law. So I think that's a really powerful way to use those things that give us so much trouble. They're not just a thorn in your side. They're showing you, where you have energy to be transformed. So that's the last thing I would add.
Oh, I love that. I just love that. Yaila, anything else? Oh, okay. All right. Are we done? We're done. Okay. Thank you so much for watching our videos. We have so many other videos. We have built up this huge library on so many other topics. So feel free to look us all up. Our social medias, all our social medias will be posted below. We'd love to have your like, shares, and subscribes, and your comments. What do you think about our videos? We'd like to know, because we do these videos for you, for all of you, to give you the wisdom and the knowledge that we have, so that you can use them to grow upon. So thank you all for coming and watching. And until next time, bye for now.